So Vladimir is coming to drink our fresh blood, but I know the perfect recipe to counter his deadly vampire tricks. Listen closely because these tips will make your gaming experience against Vlad 10 times smoother. Countering Vladimir in Wild Rift requires a combination of champion selection, gameplay strategies, and itemization. Vladimir is a mage with sustain and burst damage, along with incredible healing ability, which makes him a challenging opponent. One of the best things you can do to counter him is to pick proper champions. However, you should know that it doesn't matter who you pick if you're facing a skilled Vladimir. Still, to make your life a bit easier, I would suggest choosing champions like Kassadin, Yone, Malphite, Zed, Fizz, Ahri, or Orianna for your mid lane pick. If you're playing top lane, consider Shen, Camille, Nasus, Irelia, Riven, and Yone. We will focus on the mid lane since Vladimir is primarily a mid laner, and more often than not you will have to face him there. His mid lane counter champions either have good burst damage or long range, which helps burst Vladimir down before he has a chance to sustain through his abilities. He is relatively weak in the early game and you want to use this to your advantage. Try freezing your lane close to your turret, making it harder for Vlad to farm and more exposed to your jungler's ganks. Champions like Orianna or Ahri with good poking potential can make it harder for Vlad to last hit minions, so play aggressively during the early laning phase by constantly poking him. This will prevent Vladimir from freely farming or engaging. Poor guy. Avoiding his abilities is also a great way to counter Vladimir. His damage heavily relies on landing his empowered first and third abilities. Try to sidestep or use mobility to dodge his skill shots. Vlad is a low mobility champion, so Assassins could also be great counters, especially before he reaches level 5. Not Assassin, Vladimir. Now, of course, the crucial tip to counter Vladimir is choosing the right items. His playstyle requires constant life-stealing and healing, which means we need to reduce his healing ability to make him less effective in teamfights and more vulnerable to your attacks. Good options to reduce Vlad's healing would be Morellonomicon for mages and enchanter supports, Mortal Reminder for ADCs and fighters, and Thornmail for tanks and fighters. So while you're still in the early stages of the game, make sure to buy Oblivion Orb or Executioner's Calling, depending on your final build, to reduce Vlad's healing. Both of these items can later be built into Morellonomicon and the Mortal Reminder. However, for the early game, these are more than enough. All of these items apply grievous wounds to enemies, reducing self-healing and healing effects. Extremely useful against a life sucker like Vlad. Also, if you want to add some magic resistance to your build, make sure to buy Mercury's Threads, Force of Nature, or Banshee's Veil. In teamfights, try to burst down Vladimir to limit his sustain. Also, pay careful attention to whether he has his ultimate. Avoid grouping closely together to minimize its impact on your team. If you don't feed Vladimir in the early game and build the right items, this creepy vampire shouldn't be a problem for you. Best of luck and keep your neck safe.